You crying and depressing your bed about a relationship that you carried. You thinking that you lost something, you missing out on something, you reminiscing about what you and that person shared, not even knowing that the thing that you think that you lost is within you. The only thing that you had gained from that situation was company. But the vibe, the conversations, the energy, the blessings, the peace, the overflow, it was all you. But you can't see that because you started to take on a false character in order to appease them based upon what they were saying that they liked. You started to embrace that relationship as your identity. So now, because it had to walk away from you, because it had to leave you, because it is no longer that season, now you're laying in bed depressed and feeling some type of way about what you feel you lost, because you don't even know who you are anymore, because you took on a false identity to stay within that union. You were always the vibe. You were always the peace. It was always you. You just had company. And because you got so caught up in the company, because it had to walk away and it's no longer, you don't even want to be by yourself. You don't even enjoy your own company because you think it was them that kept the relationship going. Most of the time, if you reflect back on some of these relationships that you are so sad and depressed about, sorry, I'm hearing a noise and I always think it's a bug or something catastrophic. It's finna take place. But, it's really just distractions, because at the moment that you start to get focused and you start to speak, then all of a sudden the terrors come to try to snatch the word from you. That's how the enemy play. So most of the relationships that you were in, if you reflect on them, you were the seeker. You were the carrier. You were the one that kept the times going. You were carrying the entire relationship. And the moment where you put down what you were carrying, you found out that you had nobody to help you with the load. They didn't reach out to you. They didn't orchestrate a conversation. They didn't try to make it work. It was always you. They seen your light. They seen your beauty. They saw what you carried. It attracted them to you. In the moment that they got you is the moment they stopped putting in as much effort because you forgot who you were. Or because some of us have to go through this part in our life too. You never saw who you were. Let me not even say that, because you see your light. We see it in increments. We have those times where we're so confident and then we go right back to insecurity because you haven't accepted your light fully. You can see it and experience your light and experience the gifts that God gave you and experience how beautiful and how powerful you are, and not stand in it fully because you have not accepted it as your truth. You're only experiencing it for that moment, depending upon how you feel, depending upon where you are, depending upon who you're around, but you're not embracing it as your truth so that you can live a lifestyle of embracing your light, so that you can live a lifestyle of being you. Not being you for increments and moments and times and for certain experiences and when you're around certain people and when you feel a certain type of way, but you can't embrace that or accept that as your truth fully, so that you're that regardless of how you feel, regardless of who you're around, regardless of who you with, regardless of what you're going through. You have to start tapping back into that part of you that you suppressed to keep this relationship going, because you felt like it was a competition, because you didn't want them to feel no type of way, because you internalized all their issues and where they were in their life, and you didn't want them to feel some type of way about the fact that you were free, the fact that you were happy, the fact that you can do random things and favor is upon you because you're not thinking too deep or too hard. You're just being you. You suppress you because you didn't want nobody else to feel away. And you've been doing that your whole life, in your family, in your friend groups, in your relationships, to where you don't even know what it's like to be you anymore because you've constantly taken on a false character to appease other people and keep yourself comfortable because you want to be accepted. It's uncomfortable not being accepted. That's the truth. It's uncomfortable being misunderstood. It's uncomfortable feeling like the black sheep. It is uncomfortable. Because you sticking out like a sore thumb everywhere you go, even when you suppress yourself and you try to be somebody different. You can't blend in to save your life. You're not supposed to. But you don't like being uncomfortable because it reminds you of trauma. It reminds you of that situation in your life where you were embarrassed because you were just being you and nobody understood you. And it was an embarrassing moment because you stood out. and you had nowhere that you fit in and you just wanted to belong. There comes a point in time in life where you have to embrace you fully and be okay and be unapologetic in you being authentic. You have to be unapologetic in standing in your truth. You have to be unapologetic in being deep. You have to be unapologetic in being sure of who you are. You have to be unapologetic in being grounded in the Most High, because that's authenticity. When you accept who God has called you to be, when you accept who God created you to be, that's standing in your truth. You're not accepting anything less than that. And you're intentional about standing in that position. You don't waste time. You don't waste energy. You don't waste your breath no more, because you understand how much of your life that has taken. You spent your prime years, the moments of your life where you were supposed to be the most intentional. You spent it trying to people please and overcompensate to be accepted. And it still didn't pay off. It took more from you than it gave. The truth is, you have not become acclimated with you. You stepped outside of that to fit in with people who don't even understand you. People you have to convince to see you. People you have to fight to understand your way of thinking. When there are people out here that you don't even have to explain yourself to, because they get you, because they see you, because they have embraced who you are. You don't have to fight people that's for you. You don't have to force them or beg them to understand you. People are placed in your life to teach you certain lessons for specific seasons, so that when you get to that next season, you don't have to learn that lesson again. So that when you get to that next season, you know what it is. So that when you get to that next season, you know who you are. You've been around the block. You've been through this before. You're not willing to step outside of your authenticity to appease anybody, because you've done it too many times already. Those people were placed in your life to teach you a lesson. And because you're not embracing the lesson, you're running from the pain that comes with that lesson. You have to continue to learn it time and time again, because you're disassociating from what you're supposed to be learning because of your feelings. Awareness will lead you to acceptance, and acceptance will take you to breakthrough. If you continue to disassociate from what is happening, if you continue to run from it, then you will not gain insight or awareness as to what it is that you're supposed to be learning. And if you don't get to that space, then you will never accept it. And you'll have to continue to go through the same level over and over and over again until you finally say, you know what? I've learned. And I accept being made new from the lesson that I had to learn. This is not the time to sulk. To sulk is to be moodily silent. You have so many emotions in you, but you're not saying a word, and you're allowing it to fester and to sit inside of you internally, to where it's turning into suppressed resentment. It's turning into shame. It's turning into anger, and it's breaking your heart over and over and over and over and over again, because you are refusing to come out of this mood. You're sitting in it. You're dwelling in that space. And this is all a choice. It's all a choice. I had to continue to remind myself when I was going through my breakup, you are choosing to entertain this energy. You're choosing to entertain this thought. You are choosing to give your energy over to this idea, to these memories, to these offenses. This is a choice, Jasmine. You are in control of what you think. You are in control of what you entertain. You are in control of your mind. You are in control of your soul. Your mind, your will, and your emotion. You are in control of your soul. When people be talking about selling souls, it don't require that much. It just requires you giving somebody your mind, your will, and your emotion. It's that simple. So I had to continue to ask myself, what are you giving your soul to? What are you handing your soul over to? Is it depression? Is it resentment? Is it bitterness? What is it? Because you sitting here and reminiscing about these things. You're sitting here giving your mind and your energy over to these thoughts, over to these feelings. And it's all a choice. You are choosing this. And for what? What is it adding to your life? Or what is it taking away? Because you're wasting time. You're wasting energy. You're wasting pivotal moments, reminiscing and sulking and dwelling on what no longer serves you, what really didn't serve you ever. But God will use everything that the enemy intended for evil for good. So you learn from it. You gained a skill set. You gained a different perspective if you accept it. But you're still sitting in it. Sad. You staying in this position is all a choice. And I'm not going to say easier said than done. Because it's easy to change your mind. It's easy to make a decision. It's easy to do that. But it's hard to stay there. When you're constantly reminded of what it was. It's easy to make the choice. But it's hard to stay in that decision. And your circumstances and your carnal sight and your feelings will try to make you return back to your own vomit. When you've made the choice to clean it up and throw it out. The lesson that we are learning through these relationships is how to remain one in yourself, one with God, one with who He created you to be, while being yoked to somebody else. You being in a relationship does not mean you lose your identity. You being in a relationship does not mean you lose sight of your purpose. You being in a relationship does not mean you stop being one with God. It doesn't mean you stop building and growing and having a relationship with God. It doesn't mean you lose sight of everything but this person or this thing or this place or whatever it is for you. When you get married, you don't place your husband above God. You don't place your husband above yourself. You becoming yoked with someone else does not mean you lose sight of yourself. It does not mean you lose sight of your dependence upon God. It does not mean you lose sight of that. Everything becomes one and works interdependent upon another. It's all intentional. It's all aligned. It's all strategic. It is all for a purpose. But we're unbalanced in relationships. We've been taught to possess things. We've been taught that they are there to fill a void within us. So we feel incomplete without them. We have been taught wrong when it comes to relationships. So the moment we get in one, what do? You lose sight of yourself. You lose sight of your relationship with God. You fall off in all areas of your life except for that area. You overcompensate. You overgive to the point where you become unbalanced and possessive. You revolve your entire life, your entire purpose, your entire vision around that person and that thing. And when it has to be snatched from you because now you're idolizing it, you've become toxic. You've become dependent upon that thing. And it's became toxic to where you done lost sight of the whole soul mission and reason and purpose as to why you here. It has to be snatched from you. In the moment that it gets snatched, you feel like you simply gonna die. You're gonna pass away. And surely you will not die. You would have been dead already. You felt like that after every single cycle ended. After every single season passed. After every single person had to walk away from your life, you felt like you were not gonna make it. And look at you making it. Your feelings will get you caught up. Your feelings will have you operating wrong. Your feelings will have you unbalanced. And that's why you have to be a good accountant over what's in your heart, how it's operating, what you're feeling, what you're thinking about. And you have to know that it's all choice, whether you succumb to them emotions or not. You have to know that it's all choice, whether you go that way. It speaks about it. I think that's in Philippians, where it speaks about love abound. Yes, you're supposed to have vast amounts of love. And you're supposed to express it and give it, but within bounds of discernment and knowledge. You have to know who to give it to and how much to give. You have to use your discernment and have knowledge on how to even give love and receive it. And that's the lesson that you're learning. That's why things have to continue to end. You are learning a lesson that is going to shift your entire perspective down to the way that you love and the way that you receive love, so that you will not be unbalanced or possessive, so that you will not give up or forfeit your destiny based upon who you with. The lesson is balance. The lesson is being able to be yoked with somebody else without losing sight of the purpose, without losing sight of yourself, without losing your routine with the Most High, without losing your relationship, which is built through your routine with the Most High. Every relationship that you have gotten in, you have lost yourself, you have lost your routine, and you have completely forfeited your relationship with the Most High to keep that thing. And if it was God, you wouldn't have to forfeit it or sacrifice none of that, and it would not allow you to. It would always bring you back to it. But because we want voids filled, because we don't see our light completely, because of trauma, because of our perspectives, because of our feelings, we'll convince ourselves that that's God. And sometimes it is a God thing. And it was teaching you in the beginning. And it was trying to love you unconditionally. And it was trying to show you something different. And God was using that thing to catapult you in your life. But because you lost sight, you took things into your own control. You started to possess it. You started to make it be what you wanted it to be. And it sucked the purpose out of it. And you turned it to your own way. And that simply could not be. Because it was destroying everything. So I understand you feeling a type of way right now. I understand you're sad about that situation you really wanted to work out. You fell in love with the idea of it. Or that really could be your husband. That could absolutely be your spouse. But separation has to happen so that y'all can get back on the same frequency. So that when y'all come back together, y'all won't tear down your own house with your own hands based upon y'all ideologies. Work has to be done. But you're not used to being by yourself. And you haven't embraced your light fully to accept that you are everything. You are beautiful. You are a vibe. You're different. You are a precious thing. Because you have not accepted that yet, you think you need company in order to be your best. You need company in order to be happy. You need company in order to be at peace. That's not true at all. And when you tap back into that frequency, when you tap back into yourself, when you tap back into your light, you'll understand why it had to play out the way that it did. You would have settled. You would have accepted a version of you that God did not intend for you to be. And you would have got what you wanted and still been extremely unhappy because it do not match your frequency. You suppressed yourself and lowered yourself to a position that did not serve you to appease this person and accept this situation when it was never supposed to be that. That is a limiter. That is a prohibitor, not an enhancement or an addition. So this is not the time to be in your feelings. Reflect. Yes, because you need to learn what kept you in that for so long because you should have been left. And now you're beating yourself up because you know you should have been left. And now you're replaying the moments when you should have left. And you're in shame and you're feeling guilty and you're feeling like you failed and you're feeling like you're too far gone. Reflect on why you stayed so long so that you can nip that in the bud. You're not too far gone. You had to learn this lesson. Reflect on why it ended up that way. So that you can embrace the lesson. And you can move forward. You can elevate. And you don't have to return back unless you choose to because it's an option. It's time to reflect, not reminisce. Let me get you the definition so that you understand reflecting and reminiscing are two different things. The definition of reflecting is to think deeply or carefully about something. And there's another definition that I like that I feel takes it on a more spiritual route. It says an act, reflecting is an act or instance of casting back light. Sometimes you have to go back to that position. You have to go back to that thought. You have to go back to that situation to claim and call your light back to you because you left it in dirt. You left it in a position where it does not belong. You left it in a position where it cannot work. You put your light in a drawer. You put your light in a drawer and shut it. And it's not supposed to be in there. A light does not belong in a drawer is what God said. Why would you have a light and put it in a drawer? That defeats the purpose of it being a light. It defeats the whole sole mission of what a light is for. So reflecting, I like the definition that says an act or instance of casting back light. You need to go back to that situation and call your power back. You need to go back. And it's not just about saying, I call my energy back to me from these people, places, and things. It's not just about saying that. It's about saying, you know what? I gave my power up when I suppressed myself to make them feel better. I gave my power up when I denied the truth. I denied the revelation. I denied what God told me because I did not want to let go of what no longer served me. That's calling your power back and your energy back. Because now you know what you did to get in the position that you're in. And because now you're aware of that, you know what not to do. It's not just about saying I call my energy back from these people, places, and things. No, I've identified what I did. No, I have identified how I sacrificed my light. No, I identified how I suppressed my energy. I identified how I suppressed my anointing. I identified how I suppressed my power. I identified how I cast my pearls among swine. And now because I am aware, I can correct myself. And from that, I have regained my power. I have called back my energy because I'm no longer continuing the cycle that kept me depleted. I have shut the door to it because I identified my door opener. Quick plug. If you have not already got my course called How to Break the Cycle of Unequally Yoked Relationships, go ahead and get it. It's going to be linked in the description box below. I teach you how to identify the door opener of the reoccurring toxic cycle in your life. I also teach you about the seasons that God takes you through before you get to the fullness of your breakthrough, because people don't understand that just because you got in breakthrough does not mean this is the fullness of your breakthrough. It doesn't mean that it's the full answer prayer. It doesn't mean it's the entirety of your blessing. You go through 3 different seasons within breakthrough in itself. And the first season that you go through within breakthrough is you're seeing your answer prayer. You're seeing it tangibly showing up and you're able to enjoy it. You're expressing gratitude and you're thankful to God because you're starting to see your finances increasing. You got the yes for the job. The relationship is going great. Things of that nature. You're seeing the tangible evidence of your answer prayer. And within that, you're also fighting, enjoying it fully because you don't know, because of survival mode, which I also teach you about within this course, and how to break free of it, break it down, and identify if you're still operating in it. Because of survival mode, you'll stop yourself from staying in the present moment and enjoying it fully because you're thinking about the next time where it won't be this. You're thinking about when it's going to go back to what you just came out of. You're thinking about when you're going to run out because you're used to surviving and having just enough, not overflow. So as you're fighting through that, God has to increase your faith in him. God has to break you free of survival mode. God has to align you fully with this breakthrough so that you know that it is now your new lifestyle and not just an experience or a moment. So you've been experiencing your breakthrough, the money's increasing, you've been having a great time, this, that, and third. Yeah, on the back end, you've been operating in survival, a little bit scared to stay in the present moment, but you've been working through it. You've been having your moments of trying to stay in the present moment and things of that nature. But now things have slowed up, so you feeling like you're going through a dry season. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing as much money as I was seeing. I'm not seeing it consistently. What is going on? And you have returned back to the manna stage where God is giving you just enough to survive day to day. So God has returned you back to manna, to where you are surviving off of what he supplies you day to day. Your bills are still getting paid. You were stressed about it because you haven't been seeing the consistency that you saw when you were first in your breakthrough. So you're stressed about it. When is this bill gonna get paid? I don't really know if I'm having enough. Can I buy this? Can I go out to eat? You're questioning everything because God has returned you to a position of manna. You're not depleted. You're not in a dry season. God hasn't returned you to this place so that you can be worried or stressed. He's returned you to this place so that you can be dependent upon him, because you became too dependent upon the breakthrough, upon the answered prayer, upon the blessing. So within this breakthrough of its entirety, you go through 3 different seasons. So now you're back in the manna season, which is not for you to be dry, not for you to be worried, not for you to be depleted, but for you to deepen your faith. And shift your perspective on what the blessing truly is. Because it's not just the finances. It's not just the tangible things showing up. It's your faith. So God's returning you to that position. So that's why there is manna. Your faith has to be deepened, right? After you go through this stage, because in you getting blessed, you started to lose sight and become a little bit lazy. You wasn't really having that same fight that you had when you was broke. You wasn't having that same fight that you was having when you was struggling. You wasn't having that same fight. You didn't have that same eagerness. You didn't have that same willingness. You got a little comfortable, baby, a little laxed, a little lazy. So this manna stage within the 3 seasons of this breakthrough, this is the middle ground. You're at the middle point. When you get in that stage, this is not only to deepen your faith, but to call you back to that eagerness, to that hunger, to that passion for your purpose. So that everything that you place on the shelf, you will take back off the shelf, dust off, and try it again, but different this time. And what you are taking off the shelf and dusting off and trying again are the vessels that God will fill, so that when you get to that last season within breakthrough, you will be in overflow. You'll never be broke again. You'll never be back in the same position again. And you will not lose sight of your faith or your hunger, because you went through the process. You didn't just get handed your blessing and that was it. Okay? So there are 3 seasons within breakthrough. But before you get to that point, you have to go through separation. That's when the relationship not working out, the friendships going away, you lost the job, you're not understanding what's going on in your life. You're being separated and called out. That is the first season that God takes you through. After separation, you go into isolation, because God has to restore you. Everything that you dropped off, all of the suppression that you took on, all the disassociation, all of the false identities that you took on to survive, that has to be broken off of you, so that you can be restored back to your original way of being before the world tainted you. Because you've always been this person that you are realigning with, but you stepped outside of alignment because of what you were being taught. False teachings, false prophets. You get what I'm saying? False teachings are what you took on, and that made you become a version of you that God never intended for you to be. Within that season, transition happens. Mind you, transition is happening all throughout this. You're all throughout separation, isolation, breakthrough. Transition is happening, but transition looks different for every season. So in isolation, as you're getting restored, you also have to embrace your transitional period. Your taste buds will change. You don't want to eat the same food. You don't even want to entertain the same things. You do not want to be around the same people. Now, within separation, you were trying to hold on. You didn't want to let go. You wanted to be in that. That's all you knew. But when transition comes, you start to desire different. You're not really fighting God, because that's what you want. All throughout this process of you getting to the final stage of breakthrough. And don't worry, baby. Don't worry. You're not going to die after you get the fullness of this breakthrough. You're going to go back through this cycle again for the new level of your life. It's never ending. That's why it's extremely important to become acclimated with the ebbs and flows of life, so that it will not be such a fight when you get to that next season and you have to go through all this all over again, but with a different scenario. And that is not the only thing that I will be teaching you. I'll also be teaching you about the spiritual warfare that you will go through throughout going through this process, because it's going to come. It's inevitable. You cannot delete it. Okay? You cannot avoid it. It is inevitable. So I'm going to be putting you up on game and giving you deep insight and revelation about what spiritual warfare you will go through, especially during that separation period, because that's the period where the enemy wants to keep you bound. That is the separation season is the most important season, because that is you letting go of delay. That is you coming out of agreements, okay, with everything that has been keeping you stuck in life. And that is where you have been bound. And that's where the enemy gets paid. You being bound pays the kingdom of darkness. So he doesn't want you to come out of being bound. because he'll lose his grips on you. He'll no longer have legal right and legal authority to torment you because he has legal authority. That's why you're going through what you're going through, because you've opened up doors to the enemy's camp. He has legal authority to take you through what you're going through. And he loses his grip of his legal authority when you get out the separation process and you accept transition and go into isolation. That's like when Jesus went into the wilderness. He was accepting his transition. He went ahead and accepted separation, and he went into transition. He accepted that isolation period, and he passed every single test in it because he embraced separation. He learned the lessons from that. He embraced transition, and he said, okay, God, you know what? In this isolation period, I'm going to show you that I've accepted you. I'm going to show you that I've accepted these lessons. I'm going to show you that I'm not returning back to my vomit. And the enemy tried so hard for him to open up them doors and to go back, because he would have legal authority, legal rights over parts of his life. So separation is the most important season that you are going to experience before getting to the fullness of your breakthrough. And that is what I will be giving you insight and revelation about. And that is what I'll be taking you through. So if you are interested in that, or you are in that space in your life where you are confused about where you are, where you having a hard time of letting go of that unequally yoked relationship, even the one with yourself, even the one with your family, because it's not just about romantic relationships, baby. You have an unequally yoked relationship with your job, and you can't seem to let it go because you became dependent upon it and you've made it your source. We're going to break it all down so that you can go ahead and come up out of there. Okay? So if that's you or somebody that you know, go ahead and click the link in the description box below and get your breakthrough. It's only $22. You're going to spend that on a sack of something that's going to keep you discombobulated. So you might as well spend it on something that's going to set you free. Okay? Don't make no excuses. It's going to keep you bound. And you keep crying and complaining and talking to God about being free, but then you investing into staying bound. It's up to you. The choice is yours. Okay? So there's a difference between reflecting and reminiscing. The definition of reminiscing is the act of recalling past experiences or events. Another definition says it is to indulge in enjoyable recollection of past events. These moments that you're trying to hold on to are keeping you ignoring the red flags. These moments that you are trying to hold on to, that you are afraid to let go of, are keeping you disassociating from the fact that that relationship kept you suppressed and unhappy. And you're trying to return back to it because it's familiar and it's the last thing that you've experienced. And because it was also different from things, it was better than some of the things that you experienced, it fulfilled some of your needs, and that's the only thing that you know, because you have not experienced, hey God, because you have not experienced with a black butterfly, because you have not experienced love on a higher level, because you have not experienced security on a higher level, you're holding on to that because that's all you know, and it felt better than what you came from. So all reminiscing is doing is keeping you bound to what no longer serves you because it feels good. And it's keeping you ignoring the red flags and the signs that God has sent you to tell you this does not serve you any longer. It served you in the beginning so that you could see that you were worthy of love. It served you in the beginning so that you can understand that it is possible for you to experience something better. It served you in the beginning so that you could see that you are worthy of being chosen. It served you in the beginning so that you can see that I have your best interest at heart, and everything that you deserve, you will receive. Period. It served you. But then you started to latch on to the blessing. You started to think of it and look at it and interpret it as your source. And it's not your source. It's merely a resource that I use to show you what I will give you, to show you what I've promised you. You're going to experience love on the highest level, and you're going to be able to keep it, not possess it, but keep it for a long time. You're going to experience longevity in it. That's a guarantee. But because you are afraid to let go, you're only going to experience it on a low level, and you're higher than that. You're better than that. You deserve more. Okay? And that's not to discount what the experience gave you, because baby, the way that you were operating and what got sewn into you when you were young from trauma, you couldn't even handle more than that. So that experience had to teach you that first, you are worthy of love on the highest level. You are worthy of great things. You are worthy of receiving it. But it also had to teach you how to receive it. It also had to teach you what to ask for. It had to bring you into alignment with your desires, because you are bringing things to fruition through your heart posture. You're bringing things through fruition through what you speak out your mouth. And most of the time, what you're speaking out your mouth comes from what you're feeling in your heart, baby. That's why you're quick to curse some of these relationships, because they hurt your feelings. So that's what came out your mouth was hurt. And you started to curse yourself. I don't even like love anymore. I'm done with love. No, you're not. That's why you're so hurt by it. Love is something that you desire. That's natural nature. It's a part of you. But you have to learn what love is, what it looks like, what it's supposed to feel like. And it's not going to always be peaches and cream. We've been taught that love is a fairy tale. It's always something wrong with them. Of course, they're human. They have flaws. There's something wrong with you. Pick what it is that you are willing to fight for. Pick what it is that you are willing to work on. Pick what it is that you're willing to intercess on the behalf of. It's all spiritual. Pick what you desire to live with. Pick what it is that you desire to accept. Nobody is perfect. And God doesn't call you to be perfect. He calls you to be willing. So pick somebody who's willing to fight through that adversity. That's the problem. You're picking somebody that's not willing to fight. You're picking somebody that's not willing to change. You're picking somebody that's not willing to ask for the scales to be removed from their eyes. You're picking somebody that's not willing to love, that's not willing to transition, that's not willing to accept change. That's the problem. And you're trying to force them to accept. You're trying to force them to be willing. You can't force willingness. God can't even force you to be willing. You have to say yes or say no. You're trying to force free will to not be a thing. That works against divine nature and divine law. Come on now. You're a divine being. You have to operate within divine principle. If you operate as anything less, then you're working for an entirely different kingdom. One that you don't belong in. That's why you don't feel right about it. Okay? That's conviction. That feeling that don't feel right. You don't belong in this kingdom. You're not supposed to be operating this way. It don't match your frequency. Okay? So now that we have went through the ebbs and flows of this episode, and you have found your way, the sole purpose and point to bring it back home and to ground it at a center point so that you know what to hold on to and you know your instruction. Get back to the center of you. Take a deep breath and remember who you are. And if you don't know who that is, start to get to know you. Those desires, those passions, those screenshots of places you want to go and things that you want to do in your phone, start doing them. You still screenshotting more stuff and you haven't even went to the last screenshot. Go dance, go paint, go sing, go explore. You have the time, you have the energy, you have the capacity, but you feel as if you don't because you're being depleted by what no longer serves you and you're giving your energy and your time and your focus to that. It's a choice. So you have to rise every day and choose to accept joy because it's coming in the morning to meet you, but you have to accept whether you're going to walk with it in your day. It's all choice. So accept joy in the morning. Call back your peace and choose to actively get to know you on a higher level so that you can become one with yourself and you will not lose sight of your authenticity when you get yoked with somebody else. You will not fall out of alignment, agreement, or relationship with God when you get yoked to somebody else. Becoming yoked with them will enhance your relationship with God because you'll start to experience the way that they experience God and the way that they are one with Him. And you guys will be able to come together as one. And it will be a beautiful testimony, a beautiful experience. So your instruction, is to start to do the things that you lost sight of while being yoked in that situation. In the moment that you feel yourself prematurely stepping out of isolation to get yoked with somebody, start to pay attention to the way that you feel. Start to pay attention to because I'm not even going to say start to pay attention to the way that you feel, because in the moment where you're starting to get yoked with somebody, you're starting to date again, you're going to feel all the rush of the perfect feelings that'll keep you stuck and bound and suppressing yourself because you feel good about this thing. So don't just pay attention to your feelings at first. Pay attention to what you're losing sight of because of your feelings and because of what you're getting attached to. Love is not a bad thing. Love is a beautiful thing. But love will never have you lose sight of the mission or the goal or your purpose or task at hand. You won't put up your passion to experience love. Love will embrace your passion as you embrace its passions, so that y'all can bring them together and give each other new ideas and a newfound freedom in it. Because, sometimes you can become a little bit lax and a little bit uninterested in your passions and in this pursuit of purpose. But when you get yoked with the right person, that spark will come back. It won't push you to further put that on the shelf. So pay attention to what you're losing sight of when you start to embrace these new connections in your life and you start to step out again. And you'll know that you're stepping out prematurely because you'll start to lose sight of the mission God has called you to. You'll start to lose sight of yourself again. You're not going into work. You're calling off. You're not staying committed to your commitments. You will know when you're prematurely stepping out because you'll start to return back to your vomit and your old ways. When it's time, everything that you've been pouring into, every seed that you have been sowing, everything that you have been indulging in will begin to enhance and increase. You have to know how powerful connections are. And they can be powerful in a detrimental way, or they can be powerful in a divine way. You got to start analyzing those D's. Okay? And you have to start staying away from the D. Okay? Or if you're a man watching this, stay away from that P for a second. Okay? Because once you tap into that, especially certain types, it starts rewiring your mental processing system and your entire frequency when you hop on the right D. Okay? Or you getting the right P, it starts rewiring you. You can't even think straight. You ain't even acting right. Okay? Commit to celibacy. Commit to abstinence. Commit to your purpose and your passion. So that when it's time for you to hop on that thing, when it's time for you to get on that ride, it'll be divine. It'll be aligned. You'll be equally yoked. You won't lose sight of your purpose or your passion. You'll be able to think right. Okay, and I'm not even going to get too deep into that, but it's just that's why God is big on not fornicating. Y'all done hopped on some of these D's out here. And your whole mental processing system got knocked off. And you haven't been right ever since. Okay? Your whole life changed. Your whole life shifted. Because you laid down with the wrong person. But it felt right. Y'all know. And that's why God's so big on sexual fornication. That's why he's so big on, hey, close them legs, close that mouth, close every hole that you got. You think because you ain't using that hole, because you're using another hole, that you still in right standing. Baby, you're still forming a covenant. Your mental processing system still being knocked off because it's energy exchange. It's the genetic kiss. You're still swapping DNA and energy with these people. And that's why you get knocked off and knocked out. You haven't seen the real you in years. You keep trying to figure out why you're not happy with what you asked for because you didn't get it while being authentically you. You had to take on a false character to get that. You had to appease what other people wanted to get that. You were in survival mode when you asked for that. You were just thinking about your age and maybe you won't never have this thing because you're getting older or because this, that, and the third that got you there. And you're not even happy or fulfilled with what you got because it was not authentic to you. I'm going to leave that there. That's another conversation for another day. I feel like we've stayed here long enough. And I can keep going all day because I really love this. This is not the time to be settling because of worldly timelines. This is not the time to just be taking what you can get because you're going to be unfulfilled. And half of y'all getting in marriages and relationships don't even believe in the true union of it. Y'all don't even see the divine part of that marriage. Y'all like, oh, well, you know, marriages, they're going to get to this point. You already are preparing for your marriage or for that relationship to get to a bad point. You already lining that up because you are settling based upon a worldly timeline and what you feel like you might not be able to get later on. Come up out of that stronghold or you going to be miserable. Come up out of that pride. Fight for what it is that you truly desire, even though it's going to be a little difficult because y'all got to get to know each other, because y'all have to fight through trauma because of growing pain. Fight for that because it fulfills you. You do not feel fulfilled in what it is that you're seeking just to meet the requirements of the world in this timeline that we're in. You're not fulfilled over there. So make the sacrifice. And the only way you're going to be able to stand in it flat-footed and for it to work is by getting grounded in God first. By repenting for the way that you disrespected it, disregarded it, took advantage, had plans that were not intentionally or divine for it in the beginning because you seen this light and you only saw what you can get out of it from selfishness. Repent, apologize, change your ways. Repentance is not just speaking it out your mouth, it's actually putting in the work. Go to God about it. What do I need to do in order to be able to have that again, to be able to try it again and get it right this time, Lord? Because I'm about to settle. Because I'm too afraid to fight. Because I'm stuck in pride because that hurt me. Because I don't know how to correctly love. Because I want convenience in this moment because I'm tired of trying and it not working out. What are you about to settle for? Because you're afraid. What are you about to not be fulfilled by? Because it's just convenient for this moment. But longevity-wise, it's not going to work. And you're in something you feel controlled by. You can't be happy in. You can't be your authentic self. It's always trying to change you or make you be somebody different to appease it and what it requires. And you're not even knowing that you're learning a lesson because that's exactly how you treated the last person you was with. You're learning. But don't allow yourself to be bound to be stuck in what only serves you for the moment, but is not going to bring any type of longevity. The only thing that appeasing convenience in this moment is going to do is keep you bound to that thing because you started to tie yourself to it through things that are not easy to untie. Coming out of a business agreement with somebody that you've been in business with for years, it's not just an overnight process or something that's easy to do. That's why you got to be absolutely certain about who you go into business with. Going through a divorce when you got children and this, that, and third, it's not an easy thing to do. That's not an overnight process. When you've been in that for years and years and years and tied multiple children and multiple business and multiple assets to it, it's not easy. That's why people say, you know, I'm just going to stay. Even though I'm not fulfilled, I'm not happy, this don't serve my purpose any longer. It's not really what I ever wanted, but it was convenient for me in that moment and it made sense. Things lined up in that area. I'm going to keep myself bound to it. Because it just seems too hard to separate from. That's why you got to think these things through. It's not too late. It is not too late. Go into solitude, isolation on a fast if you need to, so that you can be absolutely certain before you move forward. Do not let your pride and your ego get in the way and get up out your feelings and up out of that toxic space because it's keeping you bound to yesterday when tomorrow is waiting for you. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Ebbs and Flows, a podcast all about how to navigate the straight and narrow road. I'm your host, Jasmine, like the flower, and it also means a gift from God. So you've been blessed today being in my presence. Thank God for me. Thank God for me, okay? And no, while I'm playing, well, no, I'm absolutely serious. I'm a gift. But last but certainly not least, I want to give a major shout out to God. The glory is all His. It's purely His. I never thought I would be in this position in my life. Like, I always thought that I would be somebody. Once I got to the position of like, okay, I'm different, I always knew that I'd be somebody. I didn't know what it would be though. And I gave up on myself in life a couple times because I kept picking up things and dropping them off. And I was like, man, like, I'll never be able to complete anything because I couldn't find the finish line. I could never get to the finish line. There was always something that came in and made me doubt myself or not believe, and I didn't feel worthy, and I kept getting distracted by people and situations and trauma. I knew I'd be somebody, but I didn't know what it would look like. And I didn't know how long it would take for me to get there. And so for me to be in the position where God has used me, he's using my voice, and he's allowing me to be impactful, it's such a beautiful place to be, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity. And all the glory is his, because I tried to sabotage it many times and he kept bringing it back to me. So all glory to God. The glory will always be his. I will always express gratitude. He will always be first in my life. I will always say thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Yeshua. Thank you. It's because of the footsteps that he walked out that I even know how to handle this life. I'm thankful for the Bible. I'm thankful for the reference points. I'm thankful for the parables and the analogies. I'm blessed by it. Because I know what to go back to. I can go in that Bible and say, listen, God, I don't really know. These people pissing me off. I don't know if I should continue. Why does it feel like I always have to show up and ain't nobody showing up for me and this, that, and the third? And he'll take me through the word and show me why and show me what's going on and show me what Jesus had to go through and that Jesus stood the test of time. You get what I'm saying? So I'm always going to express gratitude. I'm always going to be thankful. And I'm always going to represent God in everything that I do. My testimony is such a beautiful thing. And I did not used to embrace it or be happy about it. I used to be a victim. Okay, I was a victim. I survived off being a victim. So to be in a position that I'm in right now is a beautiful place to be. And I'm very thankful for everyone who has been supporting me, all of your kind words, all of the seeds that you're sowing, for everybody who's buying the course, for everybody that's praying for me, everybody that keeps me motivated in my times when I'm going through spiritual warfare and I'm down. You are not unseen or unappreciated at all. Okay, I'm very thankful for you and I'm very blessed. And I am excited to continue to see like where this goes and where God takes me, where God takes us, and like what he does, because God is so good and he's so powerful, he's so big, and baby, this life is beautiful. Okay, this life is beautiful. When you start to really open your eyes and seeing your perspective change and the scales get taken off your eyes, you'll see how beautiful life really is, and that is all a choice. Okay, so thank you for tuning into this episode. I better see you the next time. Okay, I look forward to seeing you. And as always, my prayer for you is that you are leaving this video way better than you came, and that your eyes will be open so that as you step out in your day, you will see the hand of God in everything that you do and everything that you experience, so that you will see and accept that he has never lost sight of you. Okay, so do not lose sight of him. I love you. I'm sending you nothing but well wishes, and I will see you next time. Okay.